So this is kind of a continuation of the last video I made about getting a replacement for the Tundra. So if everything goes as planned, this will be the last time you see the Tundra on the channel, and this will actually be the last time I drive the Tundra. So I realized I never did a full-on review of the Tundra for the entire year that I owned it, so I at least wanted to show you the undercarriage and engine, things you don't typically get to see in other reviews. Alright, we got the truck in the shop and up on the rack. Here's a closer look at the Motive Millennium 20x9s I put on with the Kenda Clever RTs with the 33 12 50 20. You can see the big front caliper, say 4-piston caliper up front. Here's a look at the upper control arm and the shock and spring. Here's a closer look at the black badges that come on the Trail Edition. And here's a look at the Predator step bars. I think they make the truck look a lot more aggressive. I really like those. This has the black door handles and also the black SR5 badge. Come around to the back, we got a single piston caliper in the rear here, but I do like how these wheels have the words molded into the aluminum. I think that looks pretty awesome. Here's a look at the rear shock and rear leaf spring. Come around to the back, you can see the AFV exhaust I installed. We'll see that a little more when I put it up in the air. So you can see the rear bumper is color coded. The front bumper unfortunately is chrome. Then I got my Thule T2 bike rack on here. Here's a look at the backup camera integrated into the tailgate handle. You get a nice side profile here of the truck. As you can see, these wheels do stick out a little bit, but I think it's like the perfect look. Not too aggressive. Makes it look a lot tougher though. Come around, you see those Predators one more time. So here's actually the stock wheels and tires. It came with an 18-inch wheel with a Michelin tire. And here's a look at the factory exhaust system. So we're going to raise the truck up a little higher and we'll check out the underneath. This is what I meant. The front bumper is chrome and the grille is chrome. I don't really care for either of those. Alright, so we'll start from the front of the truck. You can see we got the tow hooks here, nice beefy tow hooks, and there is a metal skid plate. Unfortunately, that needs to be removed to get to the oil filter. Here's a look at the front sway bar end link, the outer tie rod end, the shock absorber assembly. You can see it does have camber adjustment on the lower control arms, which is nice. Around to the other side here. So you see the electronic steering rack, front differential. Here's a better look at that caliper. Like I said, 4-piston. There's a front drive shaft and catalytic converters. Spin around real slow here. It's a cross member. Transmission pan, still metal. Both the oil pan and transmission pan are metal. Coming back here, so here is where the AFV exhaust starts. So you can see that muffler is much smaller than the stock one I showed you previously, and the pipe diameter is larger. So that comes out right here to the nice black tip. So you can see this truck does have the trailer hitch option. I showed you that earlier. Here's the plugs for the trailer lights. This truck did come equipped with mud flaps from the factory. Here's a look at the leaf spring, and the rear caliper is much smaller than the fronts. Here's a look at the rear axle and rear differential cover. Actually, you can the cover unbolts from this side, where most American trucks, you can take the cover off on the back side. So this one, you'd have to remove the drive shaft to remove the cover. That seems a little more labor intensive. You can see this has a 2-piece drive shaft, a nice big fuel tank. I think it's 36 gallons. As we come back up to the front here, you can see that metal oil pan. And back to the skid plate. Now we're going to take a look under the hood. This is the only engine option up until 21. This is a 5.7 liter V8. It puts out 381 horsepower and 401 foot-pounds of torque. Now the first modification we did to the truck was this AFE Momentum GT intake, and then we also did the throttle body spacer right here. So AFE, throttle by spacer, and intake. Gave it a nice little bump in horsepower and improved the throttle response, so I was really pleased with that. But see, the battery, super easy to get to in this truck, so that's nice. Takes 0 W20 oil, easily accessible. Take a look over here. Here's the... This still has hydraulic power steering, unfortunately, so there's the power steering. You know, I think I did mention that this had electronic power steering when we were under the truck. It does not. So, I still have not found a replacement vehicle yet, but I actually did put a small deposit down on a new vehicle yesterday, but it's all going to depend on what happens with this transaction. So, I'm selling the truck potentially in 2 minutes to a company called Driveway. They are a competitor of Carvana, and it's, you know, basically online car sales. And it's funny because Driveway is owned by Lithia Corporation, which is the company I work for, but they are actually giving me more money for the truck than I could get on trade back to the dealership where I bought it originally. So what's going to potentially happen is I paid, this truck was $47 and some change, new sticker. I got it for around $44 and some change. There was a little bit of rebate on it back when I got it. And I'm about to sell it to Driveway for $49,000, which is insane. Insane that anyone would pay that much money for this truck. It's a year old. I put 12,000 miles on it. They're going to pay me $2,000 more than the sticker was on this truck a year ago. So I'm getting out of my lease 1 year early, and I'm going to profit $5,000. So I drove this truck for free for an entire year. I sold all the modifications that I put on the truck to a friend of mine for what I paid for them, so I didn't lose any money there, and I'm going to make $5,000. So, I mean, the market's insane right now. This isn't typical. I mean, I have bought cars in the past, drove them for a year, and sold them for a little bit more money. Those were used cars that I got into them right, you know, based on the fact that I work for a dealership and could go to the auction. But to make $5,000 on a brand new vehicle after driving a year blows my mind. So they're coming to my house, let's see, in 10 minutes to pick this truck up. So I have to clean it out a little bit. But if everything goes as planned, the Tundra will be gone, and I'll need to buy a new vehicle ASAP, or just roll the Mustang through the winter, which isn't ideal since I do live in a snow belt, but there's no snow on the ground just yet. So you're gonna have to stay tuned for a few minutes here to see if I do in fact get a check. It's gonna be like $9,500, I think they said, but they wanted to do a inspection on the truck at first. They wanted me to schedule an inspection, but then they were like, oh no, after I send the video, like, no, we're good, we'll just come out and pick the truck up. And I'm like, well, you gotta hold on, I gotta find something else to drive in the meantime. But they were going to come this Friday. Today is Wednesday, but since I potentially found another vehicle, I'm like, well, you could come earlier just because I want to make sure I have this check in my hand before I commit to another vehicle. So stay tuned to see how this pans out. Goodbye, Tundra. It's been real. I think he has the e-brake on. So just like that, Tundra is gone. That transition took about 5 minutes. We got our check I was talking about. Guys were super friendly. On to the next one. All right, so now we're down to the Mustang, the Bronco, and of course we still have the old reliable Suzuki. It's not really roadworthy currently, but we may have to work on that to get through the winter. I don't really want to drive the Mustang in the snow or salt, but there isn't really any of that on the roads currently, but it is about to get colder. So kind of funny, I don't work for Ford anymore, but that's all I own are 2 Ford vehicles, and depending on what goes on, there could be a third one. So this is pretty much the end of this video, but I am going to go look at another vehicle today. So there might be a new vehicle on the channel as soon as tonight. You guys will have to stay tuned for that. It's not a done deal yet. I was still looking to potentially at least test drive a new Tundra, but I've been coming up short. No local dealers have one of those in stock. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for checking out my channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and have a great day.